Assalamu alaikum students. We have already learned one of the note making techniques, that is mind mapping. Today we will learn about another interesting technique, timelines. The events in history can be written down in order of their happening. One of the best ways to show the events in time is by using a timeline. Now this is a timeline of our Prime Minister. It starts from the time 1950 and till you can see the year 2014, and it's written the journey continues, means this timeline has not ended because he's still the prime minister. So a timeline tells a story. Now the story can be about a person, it could be a product, it could be a company. Timelines are graphs that show the order in which the events happened. So, for example, in this timeline, we can see the events that have happened in the life of the Prime Minister from 1950, means from the time he was born till the current year. Timelines help us understand events that happened in history. How do you read a timeline? Now, there are different ways to read a timeline. Some timelines are read from left to right, and some are read from bottom to top. Now, you can see the timeline on the left hand side, the black and white timeline. Yes. In this, we can see it starts from 1492 because that is the lowest year, and it ends in 1580. So, this timeline is read from the bottom to the top. Then the timeline below, it starts from 1961 and it ends in 2008. So this is read from left to right. As you read, you learn which events happened first, second, third, and so on. Okay, so we can see that it is the events are placed in the order in which they happened, which happened first, which happened second, third, and so on. They are written in order in which they happened. The last or the most recent event is recorded last on a timeline. Now, when an event happens, there are three things to know: what happened, when did it happen, and where did it happen. Now, suppose there's an earthquake occurred. So, what happened? An earthquake. Now, when did this happen? In 2001. And where? In Gujarat. What do timelines look like? There are many types of timelines. Let's look at some. Now, we have already seen that the vertical timeline, which starts from the bottom and ends on the top. Now, when if you have to make a vertical timeline, what will you do? You will draw a straight line, a vertical straight line, and the event that has happened the very first will come at the bottom, and then you will mark the second point, the third point, how many events are there. According to that, you will divide your line. So, now when an event happens, what do we have to remember? What happened and when. So, what happened here? The first one, Columbus reaches the New World. Now, when did this happen? In 1492. So, you have to remember that you have to write what happened, that is on the event that happened on the right hand side, and when did it happen, that is the year in which it happened, on the left hand side. This is a horizontal timeline. So in this, when you are making a horizontal timeline, you will make a straight line, and then the first event you will mark at the beginning, and then you will leave equal gap and mark all the other events, and the last event will come at the end of the line. Okay, so again we can here see here, this is the timeline of the President Barack Obama of USA. Now, what happened? He was born. When did it happen? In 1961, and so on. What happened? K-12, so means he went to school. When? 1966. Okay, so you can see the events that have happened have been mentioned, and the year in which they happened have also been mentioned. Now this can also be written in another way. You could also write the year on the top. You can write 1966, 1961, 66, 79 here on the top, and you can write the events below. Okay, there are different ways you can make it. You can make it in a creative way. Now this is a graphic timeline. Maybe the picture is not very clear here, but you can see that this is a timeline of the Lego blocks. Okay, now it starts from here and it ends here in 2008. Now what is a graphic timeline? In graphic timeline, there are pictures and text. You can see there are a lot of pictures used, okay, because they want to show, okay, what all had been invented in different years. You can see these lines. Now these are all the events that have happened. Okay, so you can also write on both the sides of the timeline. Okay, for some events you could write here, then some events you could write on this side. So you can use both the sides of the timeline. Then there is a three main events timeline, in which the main events of a person's life are recorded. Now this is a timeline of Mrs. Smith. Now what is the main event here? What happened? She is born. When did it happen? In 1990. Then the second main event in her life is when she becomes a teacher. When did it happen? In 2012. Then she got married in 2019. So these, in this three main events timeline, you only have to write the main events of a person's life, or it could also be about a company or a product. Let us see this example. Now this is a timeline of the history of flights. Now this is a horizontal timeline, means when, from where will it start? It will start from the left hand side. Yes, it starts in 1783 and it's still 1947. So the history of flights from 1783 till 1947 has been depicted in this timeline. Now you can see the event has been there's a picture of the event, what has happened, and there down what description has been given. So the first hot air balloon, this is what happened. Now when did it happen? Time the time of the event has been given on the top, and then who invented this, the person's name. So you can also have more details given in the timeline. Now who all have invented this, their names have also been given in this timeline. Students, I hope you have understood the topic. It's a very simple and interesting topic. I have also posted another video, a YouTube link, for better explanation of the topic timeline and how to create the timeline. Now let us look at today's homework. Now your homework will be on page number 12 and 13. I'm just explaining here. I'll be sending you a complete picture of the textbook so you can read properly. Now on the left hand side you can see that there's a text about Thomas Alva Edison. Okay, read the text carefully. He was the inventor of the phonograph. So, all the details about his life, when he was born, and what all he did throughout his life, it is given in short. Okay, and what were the main events have been described in this paragraph. Now, what you have to do is that you have to make a timeline on his main events. See, example has been given over here. Now, from where does it start? You can just see a beginning of the timeline is given. You can just continue this same way, or you can, if you feel this is difficult to draw, you can make it your own way also. But you have to start it at this point, which is age 3. Okay, so what happened at age 3? See, when it's given age 3, what happened? He fell into a grain elevator and nearly drowned. Okay, then why did this happen? Now in this, instead of where, it's what's written, why. Because now you will read the story, then you'll understand what happened and why. Okay, so similarly you continue with this. Now age 7 and so on, up to which year is there, you all find out and make the timeline. So, what you have to fill in is the year when it happened, and what event happened, and why it happened. Okay, make the timeline in your notebook, or you can also make it on a plain A4 sheet. Don't use a chart paper, because then you cannot stick it in your notebook. Okay, just make it in your notebook, or you can make it on A4 sheet and stick it in your notebook. Now, this is the first homework, that is creating the timeline. Now, the second homework, you can see this. Now, these are the events about Thomas Edison's life. Okay, they have not been put in order. Okay, I have numbered them. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but this is not in order. You have to put these paragraphs in order in which they appear in the paragraph. Okay, so when you write your answer in the notebook, don't copy all these paragraphs. Just write answer. Make these boxes and write the numbers over here. Like suppose 5 happened first, so you'll write 5. Then you write 3, 2, however. Okay, so read the paragraph carefully and then write the numbers in which the events appeared. Okay, thank you, students. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Meet you in the next class.